Pittsburgh Steelers at the Buffalo Bills. This is a 14-point spread as we sit right now, fellas. This has hit 14.5 at some places, has come back down, but it looks like maybe we're going to toggle between 14.5, shockingly enough. 45.5 is the total. Steven, very simple for me. I mean, again, from a survivor standpoint, go to town. If you're not playing in Circa where you need to save the Bills, go ahead, play them. I have no problem with that. It's a layup, especially if you're in a pool that's been decimated and there's only a few people left. Just play the chalk at this point. But look, it's too tough for me to lay it with the Bills, and it's too tough for me to take the points with the Steelers. Here's the deal. The Bills have a history of beating up on bad opponents. That has it very tough for me to take the points with the Steelers with a new quarterback in Kenny Pickett. At the same time, the Bills are coming off of two very, very tough games, and they play the Chiefs next week. So we're talking about a game in which they were out on the field a ton the past 2 weeks, and then they have the Chiefs next week. So it wouldn't surprise me to see them get up 20, 24 points in this game, but then you find the starters on the sideline early in the fourth quarter and it leaves the back door wide open. So it was one of the first games I scratched off, just given the where the schedule falls for the Bills and how those games leading into this one kind of played out. So nothing for me in this one.
So fun fact, the Steelers have never been a 14-point dog since the 1970 AFL NFL merger. Absolutely not a reason to make a bet in this game, but just a fun historical fact. I think if you're going to bet the Steelers, I am tempted at plus 14.5 because this is the NFL and that's just such a monster number. Mm-hmm. And if you play it, it's just a bet that Kenny Pickett can move the ball better than Mitch Trubisky did. The Bills' pass rush is strong, but digging into the numbers, I found something a little bit interesting, that the Pittsburgh O-line has actually been top 5 in pass block win rate. For those that don't know, that is a metric that uses chips and next-gen stats from the NFL to measure how often the offensive linemen are able to hold their blocks for at least 2.5 seconds or longer. So they're top 5 in that metric, to the surprise of me, because we all thought this offensive line was not going to be very good coming into the season protecting the quarterback. But nevertheless, Mitch Trubisky ranked 30th in EPA, 28th in success rate, 27th in completion percentage over expectation. I think he was just holding the ball too long. I think he didn't know where to go with the ball, because the metrics tell us that the O-line was doing enough where he should have been able to distribute the ball. So can Kenny Pickett be just a little bit better than that? Last week he was very accurate, although his only 3 incompletions were interceptions. So it's tough. It's a leap of faith. Is the total plug your nose. I'm curious what Adam thinks. I'm initially tempted at such a large number if we can get plus 14.5.
Adam, the one thing we do know, the Buffalo defense has been very good for the last few seasons. It's good again this year. And even with the injuries, they figured out that they just scheme so well that it hasn't really been that big of a detriment to them that they're kind of battling through injuries either, which is another thing that has me feeling weird. One of the weird things that I saw as well, which just because of the personnel that they had, the Steelers have been running man coverage on defense at the 5th highest rate in the NFL, which is just weird to me considering their defense is not what it has been the last few years. So that was just odd to me. And I think if they run man coverage in this game against Josh Allen with that gigantic arm of his and these receivers that he's got, it could be very, very bad news for the Steelers. So I don't know if they do a big adjustment for this one as well. It's just a lot of weirdness going into this one.
There is, Matt, and I would add the injuries on the Buffalo side, right? Isaiah McKenzie, Dawson Knox. We know that Gabe Davis has been beaten up. Like, they don't have a lot of the weapons that they have. I'm not trying to say that makes the Steelers any better. For me, the one way I looked at this, and I ultimately haven't played it, it's still a lean, but I looked at this game under largely because of these injuries on the Buffalo side. Look at the fact that last week against a Ravens defense that had been, let's just say, vulnerable to the explosive play, they struggled to get to 23 points. They struggled to get to more than 3 in the first half. So, I haven't played it yet. I do think Kenny Pickett throwing 3 interceptions last week makes me a little bit nervous about playing an under, because you could end up with Buffalo with a bunch of short fields and putting up, 35 or 40. But ultimately, I don't have a lot else to get involved with in this game.
Yeah, it would probably be Steelers or pass for me, because I do think you're going to see a lot of the Bills starters on the sideline leading into this Chiefs game. I wish we could play how many quarterbacks would play in this game, and I would take the over 2.5, because I think that we're going to see backups again for the Bills in this thing. But that's about all I've got here. I maybe a contest play if you want to go against the grain. Bet a lot of people will be scared off from this game. Maybe that's the way to go about it, but that is all I can do here.